The man was moving at high speed, on the snow occasionally tense looking back. It seemed that something horrifying was chasing after him. He was knocked down by a very strong force. When the man opened his eyes again, hideous face appeared before his eye. She desperately closed his eyes in his mind, remembering the terrifying night a year ago. Patrick and his wife, Emma, were sitting on the bus leaving the town of Harmony. Due to the virus zombie outbreak across the country, the residents were being escorted by the army to the quarantine area. Suddenly, for some reason, the car in front suddenly stopped. The soldier accompanying told everyone not to move, then got out of the car alone to check. The night was illuminated by the light. Cold, everyone tensely stared out the car window, however. After a long time, the soldier still did not turn back. His comrades on the car seemed to realize something unusual. So prepared, get off the bus to check a scary zombie suddenly appeared. All the passengers screamed in fear. Only Patrick and his neighbor Jack rushed out, trying to push the zombie out the door, looking through the window to see it had gone far away. Neighbor Jack took the opportunity to get off the bus, wanting to get the soldier's rifle. But he didn't expect the virus to spread so quickly. The dead soldier suddenly opened his eyes, although Jack had shot the enemy in time. The sound of the gun attracted more colors. He didn't have time to get on. The bus just ducked down and hid under the buzz in the bus. Patrick was trying his best to hold on. The door of the bus. Suddenly he heard his wife calling, instinctively let go of his hand as a result. The zombie immediately slammed the door. The bus then rushed into the bus packed with people who were panicking. Seeing the zombie rushed towards them. They didn't even have room to dodge. The entire bus compartment was like a bloody slaughterhouse. Luckily, at the crucial moment, someone broke the glass window, thanks to which the few remaining passengers were able to escape. Unfortunately, Patrick and his wife got lost on the streets. Everywhere were people who were fleeing. Emma held her child hiding in a car. She held her breath, not daring to make a sound. But the child's crying still attracted a zombie. Emma almost used all her strength torsus to protect her child. Luckily, at the moment of danger, neighbor Jack came, in time to shoot the last zombie. Finally saved the mother and child at this time. Patrick also ran over to see that the child was okay, just wanted to breathe a sigh of relief. However, her ghost face turned pale. It turned out that her arm had been bitten by a live iron to prevent his wife from being infected. Patrick could not bear to cut off her injured arm, although he had successfully saved his wife's life. But Patrick still lived in pain and blamed himself every day. He always felt that it was because of his mistake, that the live iron had rushed into the car and killed many neighbors. So seeing the survivors around less and less. Patrick also gradually lost hope in life. This time, when searching for, he had an argument with Emma. As a result, he left, leaving his wife alone. As a result, when he returned, Emma died tragically in the mouth of the killers. From then on, Patrick collapsed completely and did not even care about his poor daughter. His neighbor Jack really could not bear it anymore. Scolded Patrick completely, unqualified to take care of his daughter. Then Jack had to carry the baby away to raise it himself. For now, 9 years have passed. Probably due to the influence of the killer virus, the global climate has changed greatly. The 4 seasons now only remain. One scene is cold and snow white for the past year. Jack and Patrick, although still being neighbors, but have never spoken to each other a word. The child from the past has grown into a little girl because she was taken away from very young. The little girl did not know Patrick was her real father, and Patrick did not take the initiative to break this relationship. Perhaps because of the feeling of guilt over the years, he only sneaked a peek through binoculars late at night, slept together, and never shaved. Patrick now looked like a lonely old man. On the contrary, Jack clearly knew how to be a good father. He always kept the stove warm 3 times a day, tried to eat well on her birthday. Jack carefully prepared a gift for her, which was a photo of her mother when she was young. The little girl could not help but be curious and asked about her mother's death and whether those bloodthirsty killers really existed. Jack told her that they had appeared, but now had completely disappeared in this harsh, cold weather on the other side. Patrick did not forget his daughter's birthday. He tried his best to make a delicate cake, but because of the feeling of guilt and distance, he did not dare to bring this surprise gift to the neighbor's house. In the end, he had to give it to his pet dog. To enjoy that night, Lou was sleeping soundly and was awakened by a strange noise. The little girl took a lamp to the window to check, only to see a fanged monster with a fierce face wandering outside. The yard Lou had never seen a living book before, was so scared that she hid under the bed. All night early the next morning, Lou went out to the yard to check the situation. I just happened to see Patrick taking the dog out for a walk the moment their eyes met. Patrick was a little stunned for 9 years. This was the first time the father and son had such close contact. He was about to say something, when Jack suddenly rushed out shouting to chase. Patrick left, even threatening to shoot his pet dog to death, standing aside, not knowing what to do. Patrick calmed down and finally reluctantly turned around and left. That afternoon, he went to the supermarket in town to collect supplies. Suddenly, the dog stood still, staring forward. Patrick raised his flashlight towards a gray-skinned killer rushed over. The man trembled in fear, quickly ran out of the supermarket after closing the big door, then found the stupid dog was still barking madly. Patrick hurriedly called it back. One person and one dog quickly got in the car in. Away, Patrick increased speed to maximum, feared the killer broke the door and caught up him, but did not pay attention to the fallen tree in front of him until he woke up again, see the hideous face of the strange living creature. The living creature did not attack, but was attracted by the noise beside Patrick. Suddenly understood, guessing that perhaps the change of climate had caused the living creature to lose its sight. The only way to rely on hearing to search for prey, he took the opportunity to put the sled up and continued home from afar, seeing Jack getting up to practice shooting. Patrick worriedly shouted loudly for the two people to quickly go home, but his scream was once again caught by the living creature that noticed Jack standing at the other end of the road saw with his own eyes. Pick, being knocked down by the living creature, desperately shouted for his father to quickly shoot it. But Jack hesitated not to pull the gun in return. The brave dog charged forward, taking advantage of the moment the living creature was distracted. Petrie immediately opened fire, although the living creature was injured and ran away, but his beloved dog had also lost its friend. The only companion, Patrick, was extremely suffering, thinking about being bitten by the living sack. He intended to end his life, but he could not do it. The only thing Patrick could do was whisper on the radio, but this time, he still did not receive any response in the room next door. Lou was still blaming Jack for standing there with his arms crossed. Jack was also very confused about this. In his subconscious, Patrick would most likely bring away from his arms the prejudice of many years that made him stubbornly believe that Patrick was completely incapable of taking good care of his daughter. So Jack was always on guard against Patrick at all times, and places sometimes even made him disappear from this world. Jack just went to the window door in the house and thought of a way to express his apology to his daughter. So he specially found a fake flower bouquet outside unexpectedly that night. Lou took the fake flower bouquet to the yard to visit the dog, but the dog was killed during the day. The poor girl appeared career, so scared that he didn't know what to do. Then he was knocked down by the zombie to the ground. To blame, hearing Dong Tin immediately hurriedly ran to him regardless. He knocked the zombie down to the ground and punched it dozens of times continuously. Seeing the zombie no longer moving, Jack rushed to check Lou's wound immediately after that. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out behind the zombie. The zombie had just stood up and was shot down to the ground. Unexpectedly, Patrick didn't turn into a zombie, but became Jack's savior with full of doubt. Patrick cut off the zombie's 2 arms, then left in the backyard. After a few hours of observation, discovered that the zombie, compared to 9 years ago, had evolved more claws and teeth sharpness, and the speed of wound recovery was also very fast. But the good news was that they seemed to have lost the ability to spread the virus. He hadn't changed for so long is the best proof. Surely Lou will be fine if he gets high. Patrick intended to keep observe life to continue, to observe how long it can last without eating or drinking after this life and death battle. Jack finally no longer rejects. Patrick L. even offers an invitation to Patrick to come over to his house. To play Patrick after hearing this news is extremely excited. He bathed inside and out and conveniently cleaned up the mess hair. When Patrick appeared, again Jack almost didn't recognize him. Perhaps the blood relationship between father and son Lou and Patrick have countless things to say. Jack also hasn't seen Lou for a long time, so happy the prejudice in his heart is also gradually let go. Perhaps having another person who cares about Lou is not a bad thing. The conflict and avoidance between the two. Neighbors under the mediation of Lou completely disappeared that night. The two people made a decision to leave, here to find a new refugee camp. None of them wanted Lou's childhood to be incomplete. The next morning, the two of them got into the car and headed out of town. When they passed the supermarket, they stopped, prepared to collect as many supplies as possible. After hastily arranging everything out of the supermarket, they suddenly discovered a woman standing on the side of the road. The other party seemed to be stimulated by something and seemed to be not sober. They had to take her home to take care of her. It was not until evening that the woman regained consciousness. Her name was Mary. Before that, she and her family went to find a place to settle. The resident did not expect to be attacked by the zombies. The result was that only she survived and everyone was silent. In the apocalyptic world, they were too familiar with death and separation. At this time outside came the roar of the zombies. Patrick explained that it was too bright, so it was not dangerous, but Mary suddenly grabbed the pistol and quickly ran to the backyard and shot the zombie dead. She told Patrick that the scream of the zombies just now was calling for their family. She was therefore surrounded. Patrick's face immediately became gloomy because he had heard the roar from afar. Everyone immediately returned to their room, closed all the windows and doors with wooden boards. The bullets that could be used were also taken out not long. After outside came the sound of footsteps. Those zombies were finally here. Jack Bowler went down to the basement to hide, but the little girl had just closed the door and did not expect that there was already a zombie hiding. Fortunately, the other party could not see. Lou held her breath and threw the doll into the iron box when the living thing followed the noise and rushed over. The little girl quickly locked the dangerous iron box. Here was temporarily resolved, but the battle upstairs had begun. 3 people took advantage of the windows and doors to desperately resist, but could not withstand the continuous attack of the giant force. The weak defense was quickly broken, not knowing how many living things had rushed in at the critical moment. Mary turned on the record player to the music. The living thing with sharp hearing immediately became chaotic. The 3 people took advantage of the opportunity to attack, finally defeated all the living things in the house. But their battle was still not over. More and more living things gathered outside the house. Not long after, everyone's bullets were about to run out. At this time, the indoor radio relay system had a voice rang out 50 years ago. There was a camp refugees. Heard this news, Patrick and Hart. Emotional. But the current situation. They cannot retreat completely. The killers can rush in at any time. Patrick finally makes a decision that he will lure the killers away. Jack will take advantage of that time to lead Mary and Lou to escape by car before preparing to act. Patrick, tears in his eyes. Goodbye, he doesn't say much, just tells her before going to bed. Remember to brush your teeth next hour. Patrick lights a match and shouts out countless killers. The killers rush over, quickly, knock Patrick to the ground when he is about to die. Patrick remembers the scene of his wife being pregnant. Perhaps that was the happiest moment in his life on the other side. Jack has led Elle and Mary into the Carthy Drive all the way out of town near dawn. Lou wakes up, opens his eyes wide. The sun long time. No sea slowly rises on the horizon, signaling humanity is about to welcome. New hope above is the entire content of the movie Extinction. Although it is a movie has old, but the story is not as empty as some recent movies. Indeed, no matter how apocalyptic the movie is, it cannot rely solely on the scenes of the killing of emotions between people, which is the constant factor that can never change. And today's movie ends here. Thank you for your attention.